Hello and welcome to the Sigma update. It's just me right now for a moment, QX, and that's simply because we got so excited when we did our recordings with Gazza and Kushti that we forgot to do an intro. So here I am doing the intro late. Well, CW probably sleeps right now, and I want to give you an idea of what we're doing. So this week we wanted to keep things somewhat basic for everybody, so we decided to try to give you guys some insight on how to make your erg work for you. We just did a Spaces on Sunday about this, and we did a little bit of chatting about it too, but essentially it's spectrum, liquidity pools, yield farming, how that kind of works. We'll do that in part one. We interviewed the infamous Gazza. And then part two, which we'll release a couple days later after I'm done editing it, we brought Kushti in, and that lasted quite a while. That's why we're breaking it up. And we talked to Kushti about the grid bots that he made. We talked to him about Sigmafi app a little bit, and then we pinged him on a question about transaction fees, which is pretty interesting to listen to. And it was one of those, hey, one more question kind of things that turned into 10 questions. So here we go. We'll dive right into Gazza, and we'll end it without a closing. And then a couple days later, we'll bring out part two with Kushti, and we'll give you the proper closing on both of us with that. I hope you enjoy it. CW and I surely did, and hopefully Gazza and Kushti did too. Thanks for watching. Welcome, Gazza. How you doing?
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
G'day, mate. How's things?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's Patrick's Day, so getting hyped up now.
What time is it where you're at, Gazza?
9 a.m. So
How many
reasonable
beers?
time for me.
How many beers have you had already?
None. I have them waiting.
My man.
So Gaza, for those of us who don't know, what is your role in the Ergo ecosystem?
So I'm the community manager with Spectrum Finance. I'm kind of been around Ergo for quite a long time now. She's what is it, 2.5 years, since January 2021. So quite a long time now, just been kind of active community member, just helping out and just answering questions and just talking nonsense around the place, really, I guess. But I jumped on a Spectrum Finance then, late 2021. I've just been kind of working with the team since then. So building a DEX on Ergo and building a DEX on Cardano as well.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. You're building a DEX on Cardano? That's a joke, Gaza. Did my audio not come through? Soon, yeah.
Oh, sorry, my audio went out there.
Perfect time to drop audio there. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, sorry, that's my bad.
Oh, no, it's all right. I said, oh, you're building a DEX on Cardano, Gaza? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'll be there soon.
Okay, so as we said earlier, we're talking about ways that that Ergo holders can make use of their Ergo and make some sort of passive income, whether it be high risk or low risk. That's for the user to determine their best outfit there. So we'd like to chat with you about Spectrum's current offerings and Spectrum's future offerings, and we want to start with LP. Can you give us in a very simple terms what the heck LP is on your DEX?
Yeah, so a liquidity pool or an LP is a pool where you add two assets of equal amounts on either side. So they were made for DeFi. So it's a way to trade assets without having a centralized service. So the liquidity that's in the pool is provided by users. And when you add liquidity, so let's use, for example, the ERG XPF pool, you'll add liquidity, say $1,000 on each side of ERG and $1,000 of SPF, and you'll get liquidity pool tokens for that value then out. So anyone that interacts with that pool will pay a fee. Them fees get added to the pool, and when you withdraw your liquidity pool tokens, you will get extra depending on the fees and the volume interacted in that pool. So with liquidity pools, there is good APY to be made on them. So I think a lot of them now you get a few percent, but that's very dependent on the volume at the time. So if you have a busy day, the API or APR can go up, but it's just dependent on the volume really. But yeah, it's just a way to avoid having centralized services. Like, you never lose custody of your coins, which is the main thing. They're locked in a smart contract, so you can withdraw at any time. There's no fear of a bank breaking down and taking all your funds, which is the most important thing at the end of the day, which is underrated these days, unfortunately. So yeah, that's what a liquidity pool is. So yeah, the main thing, yeah.
So if we break this down a little slower, a little slower, when you say that you earn a percentage of the transaction fee, does that mean that it's dumped back to you as the day goes on, or do your servers calculate how long you've been in the liquidity pool, how much of a percentage of that liquidity pool you have, and then when you remove your liquidity tokens that you get after entering the liquidity pool, does that trigger how long you've been in and what percentage you've had of it, and give you your funds there? How does that work?
So it's calculated when you originally put in liquidity by the amount of liquidity pool tokens you get. So the LP tokens themselves will gain value by fees being added to the pool. So it's just based on when you go in. So if you, for example, went in one day, you might get 10 million LP tokens, but the next day, if there's been a lot of volume in the pool, you might get 12 million for the same amount of liquidity added. So it's just the time when you enter the pool really depends on how many LP tokens you get. And then over time, the more volume in that pool, the more than LP tokens will be worth when you withdraw.
Okay, and LP tokens it varies per pair that you submit to, correct?
Exactly, yeah. So every pool will have its own output of LP tokens.
And those LP tokens they'll have a name designation that kind of indicates what the swap pair is, if you kind of look in your wallet about that LP token.
Yeah, you'll see like so ERG, SPF, LP tokens you'll see in your wallet. So yeah, and the number is pretty big as well, but it's just the way the pool just disperses them day one.
So what is your what's the inherent risk in providing liquidity to let's say ERG SIG USD or ERG SPF or anything like that? What's the risk to the person who has 1,000 ERG, as you say, and $1,000 worth of SPF, and they want to provide liquidity to make some passive income off that? What's the risk?
So with any liquidity pool or DeFi in general, the risk is it's called impermanent loss. So impermanent loss is when you enter a liquidity pool and the price of assets change against each other. Depending on the rate of change of one asset to the other, you could come out with less value in the end. So a good way to kind of hedge against this is if you go into multiple pools, say with stable pools as well, or like ERG SIG USD. So I've seen people in the past they've entered into, say, a pool with ERG SPF, and they've also gone into the pool of ERG SIG USD. And over time, if the value drops massively of, say, ERG, the SIG USD pool has actually worked out better as a hedge against just holding ERG. So yeah, there's no real way to work it out because you can't predict the future price of any tokens. But with impermanent loss, it's called impermanent because it's only a loss when you sell at the end of the day. But there is a risk of it.
And what would you say? How often do you participate in these liquidity pools, Gazza? Is that something that you actively do and enjoy the risk?
Yeah, I've provided liquidity to a load of pools over the last few years. Yeah, done a lot of testing. I had a big stake in the ERG SIG RSV pool for quite a long time.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
It actually worked out. Yeah, it actually worked out quite well. Yeah, I'd say I was in it for a good 6-7 months anyway. So, yeah, it worked out quite well. Definitely the fees were pretty good because I suppose that was during the kind of bull market as well. So it was probably a bit more profitable than it would be now anyway.
So what's the indicator, Gazza, for people who want to jump into these pools? What's the indicator for you to say, okay, it's time for me to pull out and take my profits, or else it's time for me to continue to wait and see? What's that trigger for you that makes that happen for you?
For me,
I think you're asking the
when
wrong
I want to
person
do
in
some
regards to
G-Gen
trading.
trades, usually when I want to ape into something new.
But in theory, you're saying it's better to hold on to your liquidity until the price, until volume continues to ramp up and that kind of thing, as opposed to just getting in and trying to time it and come right out again.
Well, yeah, look, I suppose it's impossible to give kind of trading advice with timing like that in crypto because it's just so volatile. There's no way to know what's a good move really. Like, but I suppose if you're in it for the long run, then having a liquidity pool it's a good enough a bet as any other. Like there is yield to be made there, and if volume is good, then the fees can be very high when volume is high. So like it's just depending on the bigger market really. Like volume is absolutely key for a liquidity pool because you need the fees to kind of outpace the risk of permanent loss. So it's just dependent on that. And like at the moment, I think we all know like the liquid or like the volume in Ergo, it isn't huge because it's not a big cap coin at the end of the day. You can't compete with say Uniswap where the fees could be absolutely astronomical. Like,
and is there anything to confuse people even more? MinSwap has something called Zap feature, where you provide liquidity to one side of the pair. It does the swap for you in the background and splits your input. So if I want to do like ADA, it'll split that into min or something in the background and provide liquidity with half and half. Is that something that Spectrum's ever thought of to add to make it easy for people not to have to do that swap in advance and just provide one side of the pair?
Yeah, we have talked about it in the past. I think it's probably on our backlog, to be honest, but that backlog is pretty much never ending with feature requests. So it's just trying to prioritize what features are needed now. I suppose something like the Zap feature, it is useful, but it's not a necessity compared to some higher priority items either, because it's easy to do the second transaction yourself. But it is a useful feature though, and I think it is on our backlog.
Very cool. Very nice. CW, you want to take the next one?
So you did mention impermanent loss. So what's a mechanism that one could use in order to sort of offset impermanent loss in regards to sort of decentralized exchanges, etc.?
Yeah, so the biggest one that you can have is yield farming or liquidity mining. So that's what we're building at the moment, and it's basically almost ready now. We've done a private community test, and that went quite well. We found a few things and we kind of fixed them as we went. And at the moment now we're doing like a huge stress test for the last 2 weeks. So we're just piling in transactions and just trying to break it as much as we can at the moment. So we've been updating the contracts and updating the new liquidity mining bots to keep up. So yield farming is a process of, you have a liquidity pool, you create a yield farm on top of that. So when you add to a liquidity pool, you get LP tokens, as we talked about. So what you can do with these liquidity pool tokens, you can now stake them inside the yield farm. And in that yield farm, then there'll be a certain amount of, say, a treasury of tokens. So we'll talk about, say, the ERG SPF pool. We'll be creating a farm, and in that we'll have a certain amount of SPF tokens allocated to yield farm. So that'll be released daily. I think that's customizable by the people who create the pool or the farm. So you stake your LP tokens in that farm, and daily then you will get a payout of SPF tokens just for having them LP tokens. So it's a way to incentivize people to actually provide liquidity, which is honestly one of the hardest things to get on the DEX, because without liquidity, if you make any bit of a decent trade, the price impact is just going to destroy you. Like especially some of the smaller pools, there's some pools there with only maybe like $20,000 in them. If you do any bit of a trade, like a few thousand, you could be losing 40% of your funds instantly with price impact. So like it's not good enough really. Like we need to get more liquidity, so yield farming will hopefully incentivize people to add liquidity in, stake their LP tokens, and then the output of the farm, which will be whatever the people decide who create the farm, that'll be a way to add extra incentive and offset the risk of impermanent loss then.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So in short, it's staking for your liquidity tokens.
Exactly, yeah. So basically what you do is you just we'll have it on the liquidity page, and we'll have an extra, so you can see there's a swap and liquidity tab on the DEX currently. We'll have a new tab there called farms, and on that page then you can see all active farms, and you can just, if you have LP tokens, you can join in. You can just, it's fairly straightforward. You just click on the farm you want, stake, and then that's it. Check back in a few days. You can check how much you've gained, or you've like totaled, compounded in rewards, and withdraw whenever you want. So yeah, it's working quite well at the moment, and I think it's fairly good user experience.
Is this built in-house, Gaza, or are you utilizing any of ErgoPad smart contracts with their staking already in place?
I think this is all built in-house. I think this is built in-house, yeah.
That is pretty cool. And so do you foresee a market on swaps where you can create a trading pair with liquidity tokens? Is that something that's possible that would incentivize people to then stake yield farm those liquidity tokens?
Definitely, yeah. You can do that now. Anyone can create a liquidity pool right now with LP tokens. I guess it's just you need to come up with an incentive. So you want to create a farm. What is the incentive coin that is actually worth it for people to provide that liquidity? So that's where the difficulty comes in. Like, anyone can create a farm, say, soon, but is the reward token going to be actually incentivize people to actually provide that liquidity in the first place? So it's just, yeah, it's a tight balance to get right in the end, like between liquidity, creating a pool that people want to use, getting tokens that people want to use. So like we have a few that'll be starting pretty early on anyway. So we have the SPF pool, we'll have Sig USD, Sig RSV, and I think Ergo POS. They have a yield farm prepared as well. So there'll be a few at the start, and Dexy as well. We'll have a yield farm for Dexy as well, Dexy USD. So yeah, we've a few, or Dexy Gold, sorry. So we've a few ready. So it'd be good to get going.
So that's up to the project actually to approach you and say, hey, like Duckpools could say, I'd like to provide tokens as a reward to yield farm, and you start that process with them.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's good for, I think every project should do it really, because as I said, if you don't have liquidity, then it's just impossible to use the token. You know, liquidity is just, it's a killer, especially in like a low liquidity ecosystem like Ergo. Having a lot of liquidity is very beneficial for everyone. Like you can see, like interacting with some of the bigger pools compared to the smaller pools, it's just, it can be a nightmare interacting with the smaller pools. It's just so much funds lost instantly to do anything.
That is awesome.
Yeah, the
Fantastic.
price impact and everything like that goes along with it.
Yeah.
The benefits of liquidity, obviously market depth, people can actually execute trades with minimum price impact. That's the ultimate goal. And as you say, the inclusion of yield farming then does incentivize people to actually provide liquidity and get some sort of a reward in return for putting their funds up as collateral in some instances. So I think there is, for anyone who actually follows the weekly developer updates, I just sort of do it religiously, kind of have to do in the videos and things, but a lot of people would actually know sort of the constant updates that's coming in regards to yield farming. But the big question is when?
So it is, it'll be this month anyway. Like, so we did plan to launch probably by now, but during testing, we found a few things that kind of just held it up, and like, we're never going to release something we're not 100% happy with at the end of the day, because there is going to be money locked or money in this contract. So it's not something you can rush. And we've never been ones to rush anything out just for the sake of getting it out there. Even though I know people would want us to get it out there as soon as possible, but we also want that, but it's not the top priority for speed. Security is way higher priority at the end of the day. And I think longer term, like we're building for the long term. We're not building for a pump like this week or next week, you know? So it's just what's a few weeks at the end of the day in the long term.
And the rewards from yield farming are similarly variable, like a staking pool. The more people that are yield farming, the less rewards they're going to get, kind of thing.
Yeah, there'll be a linear emission over time of however many is put into the contract. So it just depends how many people are in the pool. So I assume we'll see something like maybe ErgoPad, APR will be ridiculously high to start, but it will just kind of more people join in, it will kind of lower down, and the more compounding of actual rewards will lower over time. But that's the same with any staking kind of contract. At the end of the day, it's just getting the start is usually pretty good, but it kind of eases off over time then.
And you can harvest at any time with your system, or do you have to wait till the end? Okay.
No, yeah, you can withdraw at any time. Yeah.
I mean, withdraw your rewards at any time without affecting your farming.
Yeah, you can. So if you put in, so you can deposit one amount and you can withdraw that amount, but you can deposit as many different kind of amounts as you want. So you could have, like, say 50% in one deposit, 20% in another deposit, 10% in another deposit, and then when you go to withdraw, you can withdraw one of those amounts.
Oh, I mean, like, so you don't have a single pot, or multiple pots depending on your deposits, where your, let's say, SPF and ERG LP tokens, and your SPF rewards are building up, and then I can pull those SPF rewards and keep my stuff still yield farming, so that I can either use my SPF rewards for fees on a DEX or trading or something like that, or no, do I have to actually pull my whole yield farm to grab the SPF rewards?
Yeah, you have to withdraw it at the moment because they need to be kind of brought out in the same box you put it in with. So it's brought out at the same time at the moment.
Okay, but then there's no issue since it's a linear reward system. You can just redo your yield farm after you get your rewards.
Exactly, yeah. And like interacting with anything on Ergo, the fees are just shockingly low. So it's just it's not going to break the bank anyway. Something like Ethereum, where it costs $20-$30 each time you want to do something like that, it'll be fractions of a cent.
Yeah.
That's All right. I think, well, do you have anything we can hear about your side chain, or about I think we already asked about your Cardano DEX side. Any news about your side chain and how that work's going?
Yeah, so there's a group of them now working on the white paper. They're doing a ton of research at the moment. So I hope the white paper will be out pretty soon, but apart from that, not really much I can say about it, to be honest. It's just full steam ahead in the white paper to get the whole consensus ready. And I think everyone will be happy enough once we get that out. It'll give a lot more clearer vision of what we're planning. Because I know up to now we haven't given a huge amount, but I suppose we're still in the research and development stage at the moment. So good things are coming. They're on the way.
In theory, with that side chain, as opposed to like Rosen Bridge or Aneta BTC's bridge, where you bring over, let's say, ADA and you have a wrapped ADA, your side bridge, if I'm not mistaken, will let you swap ADA directly for ERG, real ERG kind of thing. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, it'll be native swaps, on the side chain. So,
and that's more liquidity providing opportunities with that kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. So, like, realistically, the goal is to get more liquidity onto everywhere. Like, we're not just going to have it on Ergo and Cardano. We're going to move over to other chains, like, especially I think EVM obviously is the next top choice to go for, because that's where the liquidity is in crypto. It's all on Ethereum. So I think that'll be the goal after Cardano. But I think Cardano and Ergo are perfect for us to start, because we have probably more experience than any team in the world, obviously, with both chains. So I think it's a good place. It's a good starting point for us anyway to get everything up and running, because we've great experience. We've brilliant developers on both sides. So I think once we get things up and running there, we can kind of look forward, see where to go next. But more likely EVM.
That's
try and get some of that liquidity over to us, the billions of liquidity.
Wow.
Soon.
Yeah, soon.
Oh, you got anything else for him, CW? Or can we let him get some Guinness in his tummy?
Yeah, I think we can let him go and enjoy his day. Hope you have fun, mate. It's St. Patrick's Day, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. So
Gazza
being of Irish. Yeah.
Typical,
once again,
every fucking year.
Wouldn't expect anything less from the Irish climate, but go out and have some fun and let your hair down. Enjoy yourself, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much, Gazza.
See you, mate.
Thanks.